Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in for another show. There have been very, very dramatic developments today with a statement coming from Donald Trump that shocked everyone, including those who are indeed engaged in the escalation and the primary side that is causing all of these problems, which is the Zionist regime. Donald Trump declared that they reached a deal. Well, he didn't say it outright as a deal. He said there was some sort of an agreement, according to him, and I'll share his statement with you shortly. The Houthis begged him to stop, but there's, of course, more to that. However, what we do understand that there's some sort of a deal that happened between the United States and Yemen. Now, Donald Trump can, of course, phrase it as he wants. There's a deal at the end of the day. They sat down and they talked. Trump can say that they begged or not begged. There is a deal and they're going to stop attacking Yemen. And according to him, Yemen will stop attacking American ships in the Red Sea. But Israel was excluded. Israel is totally shocked. All of the reports in Israel are saying that the officials and the Israelis are totally shocked because they haven't been included in this whatsoever. Is there a shift in the United States and in the administration of Donald Trump? We know that there is a hawkish branch of his government, and we also know that there is the America First branch, which is pro-America and doesn't want the United States to play this police role across the globe. They don't want the United States to be dragged into war with Iran for the sake of a genocidal entity. And guess what? Donald Trump, in his upcoming visit to the region, is not going to meet Benjamin Netanyahu. This is very serious. Mike Waltz was sacked supposedly because he was an Israeli agent collaborating with Netanyahu, talking about attacking Iran without directly speaking with the president. A lot is happening. And what we need to understand is, of course, what's being reported is far less than the intensity behind the scenes. But the fact that we are seeing actual moves and developments on the ground that are breaking the norm means we reached a tipping point. We reached a historical low now between the United States and Israel. And also there are reports confirming that in Israel that Ron Dermer, Netanyahu's main man, is trying to de-escalate the tensions between the United States. So what we're not hearing is much more than we're hearing. This is the thing that we need to establish here. Of course, I'm going to try and analyze and connect the dots so I can make it clearer for everyone based on these decisions that Donald Trump is taking. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the strike that Israel carried out in Yemen for the second day in a row, the response that's coming from Yemen again, and the statements. Of course, what Yemen has to say about that deal with the United States and who was involved in mediating. Big hint, it's a country that has been involved in many acts of mediation. Then developments of the Israeli campaign, if there is no agreement by the arrival of Trump. Clearly Trump is telling them, reach a deal or confirm that you're going to announce a deal until I'm here if you want me to visit you. Israel probably said no, but now they're maybe dragging their heels. The statements that are coming from Israel, but we're also going to talk about the recent attack that India conducted against Pakistan and the tensions that are happening in Kashmir, the response that's coming from the Deputy Prime Minister of Pakistan, the Pakistani army, about a response against India, alongside the moves that Abu Mazen, the Palestinian president of the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, is making in his next move to Lebanon. So we will have some time in this live stream. Now, let's begin with this. And we will move on from here. So Donald Trump made a very dramatic statement, shocked everyone. And here is that statement that came from Donald Trump earlier on in relation to Yemen.
We had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. And we will honor that. And we will stop the bombings. And they have capitulated. but more importantly, we will take their word. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore. And that's what the purpose of what we were doing. So that's just news. We just found out about that. So I think it's very, very positive. They were knocking out a lot of ships going, as you know, sailing beautifully down the various seas. It wasn't just the canal. It was a lot of other places. And I will accept their word, and we are going to stop the bombing of the Houthis, effective immediately. And Marco, you'll let everybody know that.
Okay, so again, let's go word by word. We will stop attacking Yemen. He's confirming that Yemen was blowing up ships. So firstly, there's a direct American confirmation that Ansarullah were indeed attacking the United States, which means clearly the attacks were effective. Now, we are going to stop attacking Yemen, and we will take their word. That means there's a level of trust. So clearly there has been some talking going on between Yemen and the United States. Thirdly, they asked us, this is the point where, of course, Trump wants to sell it as if they came and begged us to stop. No one begged you to stop. Let's stop kidding. He wants to make it out as if they came and begged him. They did not beg him. They did not beg anyone. There was a clear mediation. Yemen probably told him what any normal country would say: stop attacking us, we'll stop attacking you. Stop attacking you. Why, though? Stop attacking you because you have been attacking us, so that we can stop attacking Israeli ships. What does that mean? That means clearly that the United States decided to stop defending Israel in the Red Sea. This is what we understand from it. Why? Because Yemen said, firstly, they did not deny the statement of Donald Trump, meaning indirect confirmation that there's a deal between them and the United States, but they did confirm that their attacks, all of their attacks against Israel, including, because they did not exclude in the statement, the attacks in the Red Sea, they will be continuing up until Israel stops the genocide in Gaza and lifts the siege. Now, the man who made the statement is Mohammed al-Bukhaiti, who was a senior figure in Ansarullah. He made that to Al-Arabi television. He didn't give too much details. So we can understand the following. There's a deal between the United States and Yemen. For that not to appear to be something too dramatic or too drastic, they're not mentioning Israel a lot. Trump didn't mention Israel a lot. He didn't mention Israel at all, by the way. And I will tell you exactly what Israel said after this statement of Donald Trump. Ansarullah said, we're going to keep attacking, and we're not going to speak too much about this deal. But there was a mediation. And that mediation came from Oman. Oman, the same country that participated in the mediation between Iran and Saudi Arabia, other mediations in the region too. Now they clearly mediated between Ansarullah and Yemen. So what do we understand here? We understand that the Yemeni strikes have been effective. We understand that there's a crack between Israel and the United States. There is a crack. Donald Trump is not visiting Netanyahu. Last time Netanyahu was there, he was called to come there so that Trump can tell him, reach a deal, and he decided not to reach a deal. In the US, they're trying to not to make too much drama out of it. The United States is going to stop attacking Yemen. They started the campaign for the sake of Israel. We don't know what's going to happen with Britain now, by the way. But seeing as the United States is taking this position, of course, the English administration or the British establishment, they're gonna probably follow the United States because the United States was taking the lead. Well, and he's not seeing Israel now. Mike Waltz was sacked for collaborating with Netanyahu. There's something going on. They're trying not to make a very big deal out of it, but something is going on. And that something that's going on is leaving Israel shocked. There were many reports coming in Israel that the leadership is shocked, and we had one report in Ynet saying that the Trump statement, the Trump surprise halt on strikes on Houthis, raises eyebrows in Israel and tensions with the US. explainer there, he's saying, they're saying in this article, Washington officials say attacks on Iranian proxy, garbage talk again, may stop, but Israel leaders were blindsided by the move, which underscores deeper friction between the two nations over Iran deal and Trump's decision to bypass Israel on high-stakes Mideast tour. He's coming to visit all of the Arab states almost, and even Saudi Arabia put a condition for him that I spoke about the other day. Don't even talk about Israel when you're here. Saudi Arabia, as a prerequisite, they told Trump, don't mention normalization with Israel. Out of the question. No one's looking at them. They're trying to portray themselves as if there's something now and controlling the new Israel. Garbage. Absolute nothing. Pariah state. No one is viewing them, and now they're causing problems with their biggest ally that they wouldn't survive a second without. All of that because of their constant arrogance and defying everything that any US president says, despite their constant support for them and participation, by the way, in the genocide, outright facilitating and supporting it. But to that level, this is where the extremism has reached. Israel in its entirety is extreme, but now it's taking it to a new level. Clearly, there's something going on. And the fact that all of these things are connected and are happening simultaneously, one after the other, shows you that there's something. But Israel is saying that there's something going on. And how are they also confirming that? Well, they also said in another report in Israel that Ron Dermer is going to be mediating to try and de-escalate. Ron Dermer, Netanyahu's main man in the United States, is going to the United States, and they're confirming that there are tensions again. So here, this is the continuation, by the way, of this particular article, and why tensions escalate after the Washington Post report. They're referring to the Post that said that Mike Waltz was fired because he was basically in intensive contact with Benjamin Netanyahu to arrange a strike on Iran. And clearly the Trump administration, or the America First camp in the Trump administration, they didn't like that. Now, they're also confirming that Ron Dermer, Netanyahu's main man, is going to be in Washington to try and de-escalate the situation. And they're also referring to the constant moves of the United States withdrawing from Syria, something that Israel did not want. They wanted the Americans to stay in Syria so that they can work more on dividing it. Trump siding more with Turkey in their moves inside of Syria and supporting Syria too. Trump now having this deal, Trump sacking Waltz, not visiting Israel now, the fact that he called Netanyahu, the fact that he told Netanyahu in front of the whole world, you need to be more sensible. There are tensions. There are undeniable tensions happening between Israel and the United States. And clearly, Israel is not really considering the level of support of the United States. They're behaving as if they can function without the United States. Now, there are more things, more moves that have multiple potential explanations that are happening that indicate that there's something going on. Now, one of them is the United States is sending Patriot systems that it had in Israel to Ukraine. We had this report in the Middle East Eye confirming that the United States is having this shuffle, sending them to Ukraine. Now, one might argue, of course, the first argument could be is, well, the Patriot is not that effective. At the end of the day, you know, it wasn't working very well, but it was used. It was used in many attacks. However, the United States is saying, or again, they're saying in this article that it's like a signal to Iran about the de-escalation, right? However, it's signaling that Israel is seeing this change coming from the United States, and the United States is indeed having a change. They're having a change. Why take out more air defense systems from Israel when they are under constant attacks, when their defense system have just been breached by Ansarullah in Yemen. This is something very significant, by the way. And they're saying here that this could be a signal to Iran. And of course, the United States clearly is in intense talks with Iran. They want to try and reach a deal with Iran, but they are having these moves. They are having these moves, whether it's for the sake of Iran, whether for the sake of they're doing that, they're taking air defense systems from Israel and moving them to Ukraine. Now, we've had other important developments that are directly linked to Yemen. And one of them, of course, one of the main developments is the Israeli attack. Israel carried out another attack in Yemen today. They attacked Sana'a and they attacked multiple places. But there is a pattern of the Israeli attacks. There's a pattern in the Israeli attacks. So, for example, one of their attacks today was conducted against a cement factory. Now, before they attacked, I spoke to you about the fact that Israel likes to have these cinematic scenes when they conduct attacks, big fires, big places, something like that's why they went to oil, okay, the port as well, lots of smoke, lots of fire, burning oil for hours. Then a cement factory. What does a cement factory do? Civilian cement factory, building, property, whatever. What does it do? It releases a lot of smoke and clouds, right? Lots of dust that can stay there and cause a lot of damage. These are their targets in Yemen. This is Israeli strategic targets. Garbage, all just to show. They don't know where these people are. They don't know where they keep their weapons. They're unable to stop the attacks against them. And they're unable to stop the blockade imposed against them in the Red Sea. And now without American support. Is there any ship that will be daring to move in the Red Sea if there is no American support? Some ships were moving with the American support for Israel there. What ship is going to even try and move from the Red Sea now with a deal reached that excludes Israel between Ansarullah and the United States? Tell me. Nothing. So Yemen is attacking. They are increasing the attacks. They're saying the Ben Gurion attack is just the beginning. We have more to come. You escalate, we escalate. But Israel, of course, comes out with these. So we have this report here. Second day, shuts down Sana'a airport. Attacking plants, factories, and one of them was, there was another link to a cement factory inside of Yemen. Again, trying to portray power, trying to cause big scenes so that, people can see, oh, look, massive, gigantic attacks against Yemen. When really and truly, their attacks in Yemen are similar to the attacks in Gaza. I mean, not to the intensity of the genocide in Gaza, but the destruction of civilian facilities and nothing that can stop the resistance against them. Gaza, 1.5 years of full-blown genocide, full-blown savagery and barbarism against innocent civilians, and they haven't achieved anything. The resistance is still there, quality attacks against the terror forces, and they are being confirmed by Israel. Yet despite all of that, Israel is saying now that they want to expand this operation. Now, in relation to the operation in Gaza, there are some things that are happening. Well, the first thing that's happening is we've had this declaration about the new campaign that Benjamin Netanyahu is going to start if no deal is reached up until Trump's arrival. Again, what do you understand from that? Even them stating that fact, it's as if they are preparing the ground for them to potentially accept a deal. Donald Trump is saying we're going to have big announcements soon. These announcements relate to the aid going into Gaza. This is coming simultaneously with reports coming from Israel that the army intends to establish 3 distribution centers in Rafah. This is what the Israeli army is saying. We're intending to open 3 aid centers and distribution centers inside of the Gaza Strip. They're still not confirming yet who's going to control them. But despite the fact that they're continuing the genocide, they're saying that now we're going to allow aid in. Clearly, there's pressure. And in Israel, by the way, in some of the reports that I was sharing with you earlier, they're saying that there is intense pressure coming from the United States. But that pressure is against a man called Benjamin Netanyahu. And that Benjamin Netanyahu clearly doesn't have any regard to anyone when he wants to do something. Total psychopathy. Trump said that we're going to have a good statement regarding the aid to Gaza. That still hasn't been implemented. Israel reported that they had certain pilots to allow aid into Gaza. That hasn't been confirmed by a Palestinian source. However, they're stating that in the next few days, something might come in. But Netanyahu's main allies inside of Israel are still insisting that there's going to be an enormous campaign and this is going to go and wipe out Hamas. And as a matter of fact, the Israeli finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, is saying that in 6 months, there will be no Hamas in Gaza. After more than a year and a half of war, and after the cabinet approved the expansion of the fighting, the finance minister described the picture of victory in his eyes, saying that Gaza will be completely destroyed. Its citizens will concentrate south of the Morag and start leaving to other countries. They will despair. And they will be in a state of like catastrophe. He's saying that, you see, this savagery is barbarism. It's supported by your politicians and your leaders. If you're living in any country that supports this abhorrent barbarism that this genocidal entity is conducting, not only against Gaza, but against everyone in the region, sitting there causing problems after problems. Now, he's serious, but there's something interesting in his statement. What is that? He's saying in 6 months there will be no Hamas in Gaza. Why is he saying this? Why, and why did he not say this before? And why is he confirming that aid will go in? Well, firstly, Bezalel Smotrich was a man who refused to allow aid into Gaza. He was constantly criticizing Netanyahu for allowing any aid in, saying starve all of them to death. And there were people in Israel, the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer was legitimizing the starvation and saying it's legal to kind of starve people in the beginning. But in Israel, there have been people who said, well, starve all of them to death. Smotrich was one of them. Why is he saying that now that he's fine with allowing aid into Gaza and in 6 months there will be no Hamas? He also might be preparing the ground for the fact that there will be a deal. Israel will try and portray it as an absolute victory, or that Hamas submitted, similar to what Trump said about Yemen. They came and begged us, and they basically said, stop attacking, and we will stop attacking your ships. Clearly lies, trying to, make it appear to be as if they came and begged him, when really and truly the Americans were the ones who were actually going and attacking Yemen shamelessly with all of the audacity, conducting mass terror in Yemen for the sake of a genocidal entity. That's what happened. And clearly the attacks of Yemen on these genocide supporting forces of the US were effective. That's why they reached a deal. If they were not effective, the United States wouldn't even look at them. They wouldn't speak with them. Likewise with Gaza. If Hamas was not capable, if Hamas was totally defeated, they wouldn't talk with Hamas, would they? They would enforce things on the ground. This is clearly showing that no, the resistance does work, and it's forcing the biggest power in the world, the United States, and one of the most equipped countries in the region. I'm not even going to use terminology like advanced or whatever. These people are backwards and barbaric. The genocide state by the least equipped side, Gaza. Now, where are things going? This is the big question. If Smotrich is saying that in half a year there will be no more Hamas, well, that means he could be preparing the ground for a deal. That means he might be expecting that something might happen, and I want to justify my presence in the government. Therefore, I'm going to have to say from now that Hamas will be done. And because Hamas will be done in 6 months, we might get a deal now. That's one interpretation. The second interpretation is that Israel is totally delusional, detached even from the United States now, its biggest ally and supporter, and they are going ahead with what they think that they can achieve. But they are constantly met with reality checks. These reality checks are given to them, are handed to the government by the IDF chief of staff. Of course, the IDF chief of staff is a war criminal, like all of the others who are participating in this genocide and supporting it. But how is he trying to give them reality checks, and is he trying to potentially stop what Israel is doing now in Gaza? Firstly, I spoke about this several days back when he reported about the horror scenario. He basically came up with a scenario to the government, telling them that if we plan on expanding the operation in Gaza and going there with more troops, we will have a lot of soldiers killed. Again, from the IDF chief of staff, confirming what? Confirming that the resistance is capable, confirming that the resistance is strong, confirming that the resistance, like it put your child-killing troops' heads in the sand of Gaza before, they will put their hands in the sand of Gaza again. This is what he's confirming. They, of course, still going ahead and making these statements. But now he's saying something else and actually doing something else. What is he doing? He is going and sending more orders for the Orthodox community to go and serve. In this report, they're saying, Chief of Staff Damir decided on a drastic step which sends a message to the government. Against the backdrop of the widespread mobilization of reserves, Chief of Staff Eyal Zamir ordered a move that expected to cause a stir in the Haredi leadership. A stir in the Haredi leadership who are in the government for their own purposes, by the way, not because they love Benjamin Netanyahu, just because that they get the money, they get the funding for what they call the yeshiva, their religious institutions, and they constantly get exemptions from serving in the army, despite theatrics conducted by Netanyahu and his government that they're trying to force them into conscription. But he reached a deal with them, Netanyahu, with the Orthodox and Haredis, telling that no problem will pass it. He's been criticized by the opposition, by the others in the society in Israel, saying, well, why am I going to die for the third and fourth time, risking my life for Netanyahu when his son is not here anyway, bathing in Miami? And over half of the state almost are getting an exemption for religious purposes. So he already gave them an exemption. But the IDF chief of staff is using his power as the IDF chief of staff to send the orders to the people despite refusal from the government. What does that mean? That means that there are tensions between these people. That means he's doing something that could increase the tensions between Benjamin Netanyahu and key elements that hold his coalition together. Again, not necessarily for liking Netanyahu, by the way, for their own interest. These people, some of the religious groups, leaders in the Israeli government, they were arrested for corruption, by the way. Money and stuff. So they just want their money and they want to have exemption and they want to be funded by the state without serving. It's something that, of course, the rest of the society views as a strain and double standards and hypocrisy. Why are you doing that? Now he's sending the orders to them in defiance of the Israeli government and in defiance of Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, moving on, there was another statement made by Donald Trump that could also indicate that there is a real crisis happening, by the way, between him and the Netanyahu administration. What was that? Well, Donald Trump just landed a bombshell in relation to the Israeli prisoners in Gaza. Again, shocking everyone out of nowhere and without any coordination. What was it? He said that 3 hostages were killed, only 21 left alive in Gaza. In Israel, they said it's a shocking statement by the President of the United States. Second time they used the term shocking in reference to Donald Trump, in which he claimed almost casually that 3 hostages died in Hamas captivity, contrary to the official numbers in Israel's possession. The reliability of the information is unclear, and Israel has no confirmation of this. He also referred to Iran, the important period in its history. So, Donald Trump is coming, giving information about the people who Israel claims to be the most important in this whole campaign, the prisoners, the Israeli prisoners in Gaza, or what they call the hostages, and landing this information. Firstly, this could be classified information, very secret information, that the news are reporting. How did he get that information? He could have received this information from his direct negotiation with Hamas. Because don't forget, that was yet another step showing that there are differences between the US and Israel, or more cracks in that relationship. How? Well, Adam Bowler was spending months talking to Hamas, and then he had statements calling them nice guys like me, that they were having Arab desserts after midnight with fresh orange juice. They could have given him information. Why? Because Hamas, from their side, they don't have a problem with the United States apart from its support for Israel. And they always said that we have a problem with the Zionist occupation. This is what they constantly say. No American or nothing. Of course, the garbage propaganda of Western mainstream media constantly tells you, and fear mongering and whatever about Hamas, for the sake of the Zionists, not for the sake of anyone else. And they were criticized internally for that too. But he made this statement now. The families of the prisoners of war are sitting like, the United States president is coming to tell us that people are killed, and our prime minister is not telling us that 3 of them have been killed. Do you see how that could be a deliberate attempt or a deliberate move coming from Donald Trump to show Benjamin Netanyahu in a bad way to the Israeli public? Him declaring that 3 of them were killed, only 21 left. Who's the one to look at now? Netanyahu. The people tell him, well, why are you keeping this information for us? Why is the American president saying this? You're supposed to be best friends with him. Are you hiding something from us that we don't know? And what led to the United States president to make such a statement in relation to such a sensitive topic to the whole world? And if it's true, then look, you are killing the Israeli prisoners inside of Gaza for your own interest and for your own benefit. This is serious. This is serious, and this could cause a lot of trouble for Benjamin Netanyahu, who already has a lot of trouble. Now, again, this could be a move, and the Israeli moves led by Netanyahu could be moves made as preparation for the potential of reaching a ceasefire, especially with them giving Hamas this last chance, right? Or we will go into Gideon's chariots. That's on that front. Then Israel was crying about everything burning. The Zionist entity was crying that things were burning. They got things relatively under control now. But their rabid squatters in the West Bank keep burning Palestinian lands. Olive trees, thousands of years old, older than their hideous faces, way older. Burning them and going there protected and supported by the Israeli army and conducting these arsonist attacks against the population that, of course, in many cases lead to killing. When I commented about the BBC's Louis Theroux documentary, I made one point, that the squatting establishment, or what's labeled as the settlement establishment in Israel, is not the settlement establishment, it's Israel as a whole. Stop trying to show us and tell us that, oh, it's these settlers. Who protects them? Israel protects them. The government protects them. Central government, left or right. The leftists in Israel, or those who call themselves leftists, or the opposition, who criticize some of the settlements and the settlers and settlement establishment, are big hypocrites, because they are the ones who facilitated this establishment and constantly supported it. But there's a big problem, and that big problem is Israel used to try and hide this as much as possible alongside its backers. But now the problem is that these people in power, and they're portraying things as they are. And from an Israeli perspective, that's problematic. However, this terror of the Israeli squatters has been supported since the establishment of the state. And there is no difference between the rest of the state and the squatting establishment. The only difference is the other side hides the truth, whereas those openly speak as they actually believe. The others might, try and hide it, say, oh, no, it's not good for the PR. Let's hide it. Let's cover up. But no, the settlers tell you, this is us. This is our establishment. And this is what we do. Then, the Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, is visiting Lebanon. Why is he visiting Lebanon? He's visiting Lebanon to disarm the Palestinian resistance. Why exactly is he planning to disarm the Palestinian resistance? Because, well, there's no need for armed resistance against a very peaceful country that constantly, gives you whatever you want and gives you your rights and is so peaceful with you. Why should anyone have arms when we have such a wonderful country next to us that is giving us exactly everything that we want? He's going to Lebanon to try and coordinate with the Lebanese government how they will go into the refugee camps in Lebanon and start disarming the Palestinian resistance. Why? Because the Palestinian resistance participated in some of the actions of the Lebanese resistance against Israel when we had an escalation or an open front from Lebanon. And the Lebanese government recently made a statement, well, some figures in the Lebanese government criticizing Hamas, and now the Palestinian president is coming to Lebanon and saying this. But there's a very big problem. And do you know what that problem is? That problem is the president, firstly, has no popularity or support in Palestine, let alone in Lebanon. In Lebanon, leaders of the Fatah movement have openly criticized the Palestinian president, Mahmoud Abbas, who's the de facto leader of Fatah and the de facto president of the Palestinian Authority. Therefore, chances are slim that people are going to coordinate with him. Slight chances, by the way. And this man isn't liked. As a matter of fact, if you ask anyone in the West Bank, or most people in the West Bank, does Abu Mazen represent you? Does Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian president, represent you? They'll tell you he doesn't represent my shoe. Now, good luck to him trying to convince those in Lebanon to disarm or what have you. Again, unless it's part of a bigger strategy coming in Lebanon to defend Lebanon as a whole and to stop these aggressions that are coming. I mean, some people are talking about disarming and disarming. This is when everything is violated by the satanic state next to them. constantly being attacked by them, constantly being bombed by them, and they're going and saying, oh no, we should stop the resistance. Well, are you thinking straight? Who are you working for exactly? And this man, who's, by the way, a billionaire, his children are billionaires, they own hotel chains, lots of money. As a matter of fact, even the UAE, one of the UAE representatives in one meeting that they had with the Arab states called them the authority of Alibaba and the 40 thieves, because of how corrupt they are and how much they steal money. That's the reality of the Palestinian Authority led by Abu Mazen Mahmoud Abbas. And he's going to Lebanon. Good luck succeeding with that. But again, it shows you how misled and misguided and astray many of the Arab countries are in terms of leadership and people leading them. Again, a genocide happening for 1.5 years. Who's acting? Who's doing anything? Yemen. That's it. As in the whole country. Of course, we had the Lebanese resistance at one point, some movements in Iraq too, and Iran participated too. Iran, of course, has the overall support as well, which is a very important factor as well. But no, some countries know that their priority is, oh no, stop doing anything. What has the other side given you? Any sort of peace offers, or what did they give you? These people are supremacists by nature, supported by powers who are supremacists by nature. They view you as nothing. They look down at you. They look at you and laugh. And you're trying to please them? Are you even thinking? Plus, who on earth goes and gets rid of their power cards when they want to negotiate with someone? Whether it's in business or in politics or in anything. Oh, hello, I want to deal with you, but I have nothing to give. Please give me something. I mean, is there any logic to that? There is no logic for that. But it shows that this man is a small little puppet who is there doing a job. He is doing a job at the end of the day. And that job is to legitimize the continuation and the existence of the Israeli occupation. He is not there apart for that reason. The Palestinian Authority of the West, but under that authority, Israel expanded its squatting establishment, expanded the number of squatters from 100,000 to approximately 1 million, constantly killed people, instilled its apartheid of the West Bank, stolen more lands, expanded all of what they call the settlements, abused more Palestinians, detained and killed and imprisoned and kidnapped more Palestinians, and besieged locations, starved many people, destroyed more homes. And this man is sitting there cooperating with them. As a matter of fact, under their thumb, doing as he's told. A puppet for the Zionists. This is what he's doing. And he's trying to do that with Lebanon too. Now, moving on to India and Pakistan. There have been tensions between India and Pakistan, and over, of course, what? Kashmir. Guess who started it? The British Empire. The same people who gave Palestine to Israel as if it's theirs. Oh, hey, Israel, okay, Balfour Declaration, cool, go ahead, give it to the Zionists. Same Zionists used to kill them, by the way. So part of the continued problem, of course, as a result of the actions of the previous British Empire. It's no longer an empire, by the way. Some people believe it is, but it's no longer an empire. But there's still problems, by the way. And there are responsibilities, of course, that need to be done. However, there have been always tensions between India and Pakistan. They both had several wars together. And there are tensions in relation to Kashmir. With constant tensions, of course. We can't stay started yesterday. There are constant attacks coming from Indian forces against the Kashmiri population. And Narendra Modi is leading a line that is very racist in many ways in India. Critics are saying that, oh no, hold on a second, they started and they had this attack coming from Kashmir against us. Now they're cutting some of the waters off Pakistan, and they threatened Pakistan with a large attack. And today they conducted the first attack. So what's happening on that front, and is there going to be a bigger war between India and Pakistan? Now, of course, there were multiple reports, of course, in relation to this attack. One of them was in Al Jazeera, saying that India launches attacks on several sites in Pakistan. Missiles hit locations in Pakistan-administered Kashmir in the country's eastern Punjab province. Now, the attacks, as confirmed by the Indian side, were not targeting the Pakistani military, as if they're claiming that these attacks are coming against the people who conducted, or those related to those who conducted the attacks. But one of the attacks was against the mosque. I mean, what, did the mosque go and conduct an attack, or is that another move that came from Modi to please his population over there? There's a big racist sentiment, by the way, in India, saying that terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, from whom attacks against India have been planned and directed. And what did India say? India said these actions have been focused measures and not escalatory, non-escalatory in nature. No Pakistani military facilities have been targeted, and India has demonstrated considerable restraint in selection of targets and method of execution. Now, from the Pakistani side, the Pakistani military said at least 2 people were killed and 12 others were injured in the attack of India. A military spokesperson of Pakistan said that 5 locations, including 2 mosques, have been hit. And he said Pakistan's response is on the way. Pakistan's response is on the way, but what kind of response is coming from Pakistan? I mean, that's the big question here. Well, they're keeping it open for interpretation. And Pakistan isn't outright saying that they're gonna attack with something massive. I mean, it's just the attack is coming. But the deputy prime minister made some statements, the deputy prime minister of Pakistan, and he said that Pakistan will respond decisively to any Indian aggression. Pakistan will respond decisively, but at the time and place of our choosing. Him and others made some statements. It's calling the attacks that are coming from India irresponsible attacks, unnecessary escalation, destabilizing in nature. And he also is showing somewhat of an understanding that he, condemns terrorism, as he said, saying that we'll start by reiterating that Pakistan condemns terrorism in all its forms and manifestation. No cause or objective can justify taking the lives of innocent people, so somewhat distancing themselves from that move that happened and started the most recent escalation. He said this is the national and Islamic policy. Killing of a human being is tantamount to killing entire humanity as per the Quran, and serving life is tantamount to saving an entire life, saving one life. Okay. And we're concerned about the loss of life during the Pahalgam attack, and we also extend our condolences. And we are also victims of terror. Now, he was saying also, and there were more statements, that no, it's actually India that glorifies terrorism and these moves. But the fact of the matter is, they're saying that the response will come, but it will come at the time of our choosing. India, from its side, said that concise, non-escalatory in nature, we're not targeting the Pakistani army. Could they consider it as a done deal, at least from a Pakistani perspective? Because many people are saying that this could explode now. And there are statements coming from India that that's it, we're going to respond, and there's going to be a heavy response. But the nature of the Indian attack, based on the information that's given now and how they're portraying it, and the response that's coming from Pakistan, India is trying to show, or the Indian establishment at the end of the day, because again, you know, India is massive. They are not necessarily trying to lead to a total war, especially with the terminology as well used. You know, we're not targeting them, it's very specific there. But from an Indian perspective, Modi and, you know, the Indian army and whatever, they can go back to the extreme base and tell them, look, here we carried out a strike. And some people were killed too. And we attacked a mosque, as Pakistan confirmed. Why? So they can feel, oh, good, yeah, cool, you attacked a mosque too. Meaning, well, of course, there's a likelihood that Pakistan would attack. But the fact that they kept it open for interpretation, the fact that they showed somewhat of a mutual tone with India and saying that, no, we don't actually condone any attacks against innocent civilians, but we have been victims, on the other hand, of terrorism coming from India, facilitated, supported by India, and that the fact that they're stating that it will be at the time and place of our choosing shows that they're not necessarily interested in escalating this to an all-out war. There's, of course, the other argument that they did not attack the army, and it was in Jammu and Kashmir, areas that both of them claim that are theirs, of course. Again, you know, the heritage of the British Empire conflicts. Now, is it gonna escalate? Is it not gonna escalate? Well, it depends really on the decision making in Pakistan primarily. Are they gonna do something symbolic that will show India that, no, you crossed a red line and we need to respond? Or are they gonna wait, try and see if there's something that could be agreed upon between them and India, and not drag two nuclear countries to another war that could be a very, very devastating war? And these were the main things that I wanted to share with you in this live stream. Everyone, again, thank you so much for tuning in for another live stream. In the meantime, stay blessed, take care, and I will see you soon in the next video. Peace, everyone. Salam.